शान साथ है इतने के कुछ शुमार नहीं हमारे दीन का क़िस्सों पे मदार नहीं।
The moment that struck me most deeply about the existence of God came to me through my journey with Purda. Before I accepted Islam, I did not have a good opinion about it, and in particular about the burqa and hijab that the Muslim women wore. I had only taken my understanding from the media, which portrayed this religion so full of violence and oppression, but I felt especially sorry for the women, who I thought must be subjugated and wrongly treated in their garment. I was introduced to Ahmadiyyat by an acquaintance I had met, who discovered I liked poetry and had given me a copy of the Holy Quran. It was the Quran interpreted by Arbery. He wrote his understanding of the Arabic in a long and beautiful poem. I liked the teaching very much. That is, until I came to the point that women should cover their hair and wear an outer garment. I came back to my friend and said, I expect they're revising this now. Western women like to wear what we like. The answer came briefly, no. The Quran has never been altered since it was revealed, nor will it be altered. This straightforward response, though difficult at first, actually helped me take my first step towards Allah. I realized that Allah will not change His teaching to suit every whim of mine. I will need to change myself in order to know Him. But if I wanted to accept Islam, as I was feeling inclined to do, I would have to start wearing a head covering and an outer garment, something like the women I had seen on the news, who seemed to me degraded. So I was very worried about this, and yet everything else that I had learned so far was definitely calling me. One night, I had a powerful dream which changed my life dramatically. I dreamt I was indeed wearing a burqa and hijab, but in this garment, I was in a state of deep contentment and inner peace. I was so perplexed. It went against all my expectations. The dream insisted upon my mind for days. This very garment in my dream had given me that longed-for state of inner peace that I was searching for. The notion that Islam was the means towards inner peace and peace amongst mankind had prompted me to look into it in the first place. What was I to think? So I decided that this must be an invitation from Allah to give it a try, to give Islam and all that it required of me a try. And I signed the bat and became an Ahmadi. Entering into Islam from having been raised in the so-called free-thinking West is a huge change. Everything about you has to undergo a revision, a new direction, a new identity. Your food, your clothing, the way you present yourself, the way you interact with people. Your friends and your family don't recognize you anymore. It took me a few years to properly observe Purda. I started with a simple scarf and coat, but even with that, I realized what a great teacher this was. I was very taken by the idea that Islam is a continuous inner revolution, a struggle to quiet and subdue the ego. I was greatly inclined to prayer with this journey, to ask Allah's help in guiding me at every step. Observing Parda, I was reminded not to fall into my old cultural ways or personal habits. It became the vehicle for me to embrace Islam in practice and to understand myself as a woman, freeing myself from the societal expectations of fashion and conduct in which I had been raised, and which I had not realized were nothing more than chains. I felt liberated, no longer caught in the web of needing to prove myself through fashion and display. I had to face some awkward situations. An acquaintance once said, "Why did an emancipated woman like you accept Islam?" I found my reply, actually, I became emancipated by accepting Islam. It has freed me from the unwanted approaches of men and given me confidence in being who I am without any pretense or any need to comply with cultural expectations. However, my experience was mainly positive. I noticed how respectful people were towards me and how I felt safe and looked after. I felt that Allah was keeping me in His care, showing me the way to inner peace as it had been suggested to me in my dream. There was one situation that I dreaded. It was to appear at my work wearing the hijab. I had already established myself in my profession as a teacher. How was I to appear in my class now with this new identity? I resolved to start with the beginning of the new term, determined not to allow myself to make any excuses. My class was 4 flights up the stairs. All the way up, my heart was pounding with apprehension. But when I entered the room, instead of the reactions I was anticipating, there was not the slightest hint of concern. My students and I worked together just as comfortably as before. I realized then how the challenges of changing one's identity through parda were all internal. It is our own ego that criticizes us and causes us to feel doubtful and unsure. It was later in my life, when I fully realized what Allah was telling me in my dream, that caused me to accept Islam all those years ago. Our beloved Hazur, may Allah be his helper, explained how the verse in the Holy Quran that admonishes women to observe parda speaks of it being a source of falah. The verse ends saying that you may succeed. Hazur explained that this word has many meanings. Falah means prosperity, success, and the attainment of that which a person's heart desires or seeks. It means happiness and tranquility. It means safety and security. Falah also means a permanent state of blessings and true comfort and satisfaction of life. I could see then that Allah was telling me this very point in my dream all those years ago, that I should not worry or be concerned. Taking up the burqa and hijab is a source of deep contentment for women. My heart shook with joy at this realization and convinced me of the existence of God. Jazakallah.